Hi, I'm Dan Chambers of Chambers Law Firm. Welcome to episode 10 of an ongoing series concerning the anatomy of a criminal case. If you've watched the other episodes, you know that we're pretty far along in the process now. And in this episode, I want to focus on something that is often overlooked in defending a case. Many attorneys will be out there investigating the crime scene, hiring a private investigator to go talk to witnesses, and things like that. But one thing that sometimes gets overlooked is examining the physical evidence in your case. The attorney actually has the right to request that the prosecutor and the arresting agency, whoever did the investigation, to make that physical evidence available to you for inspection and even testing in some instances. And it can be critically important. I'll give you an example. I tried a case several years ago. It was a very large drug case, and my client had a very bad record. He had a lot of drug sale priors, and he was looking at a lot of years in prison if he was convicted. I got a test result from the prosecutor on the eve of trial, and I looked at the lab receipt, and the amount of drugs that were listed in the receipt didn't seem right to me. There was a gross amount, for example, X number of grams of cocaine. I then went back to my file and I pulled the old receipt from the first time they tested the drugs about 2 years earlier, and I noticed that the grams were different. It appeared from the second later test that there were some drugs missing. The grams available in that report were lower than the first report. I went to my investigator and said, we need to go physically examine these drugs because something isn't right here. We went down to the property room at Los Angeles Police Department where this evidence was being held. It was all opened on the table for us. And we immediately noticed that there appeared to be a chunk of the drug that was gone. And if we hadn't done the work to look at the physical evidence, we would have never noticed that discrepancy. Or if we did notice it on the paper, we would have simply said, it really doesn't make a difference. It's all cocaine. It was all tested to be cocaine. What difference does it make? It made a huge difference in that case because the officer that was in charge of the investigation, it was a little bit shady. He had a bit of a reputation, and frankly, the jury found it very suspect that this evidence had essentially gone missing and couldn't be accounted for. And that was only because we looked at the physical evidence. Now, there could be other reasons why you want to look at it. Maybe you have some DNA testing that you want done on an article of clothing. Maybe you want to examine the particular firearm to see if, in fact, it has a hair trigger or a quick trigger on it so that you can give it to your ballistics expert to see if it's a really hot trigger on it that goes off easily. Again, without looking at the physical evidence, you have no way of knowing these things. And looking at it will also enable you to determine whether that expert that you want to hire can help you. So, physical evidence examination, vitally important, but often overlooked. Thank you.